Hello and welcome back to another video. I've created a basic banking project inspired by the free Codecamp simple banking project. I've added a couple further developments, specifically implementing transaction history and implementation of more robust error handling as well as input validation. Let's get started on the first file. So this one is going to be the bankaccounts.python file. This file is going to hold the classes of several types of bank accounts, around 3 classes. So first let's import date and time. We import date time as so. First class will be balance exception, and then we'll leave it as pass for now. So we'll use this for our error handling, and then the next class will be for the bank accounts. So within the bank account class, the first function is going to be finding the initial balance and account name as well as the history of the account. Yeah, it's going to be self, but we also need initial amount and account name. Those two things are what we're going to use to identify bank accounts, and then following that we need to define the balance. So self, we're going to use self.account or self.balance, and then self is going to be the name of the account. We use that to find the initial amount. And finally self.history. So we're going to use that to initialize an empty list for transaction history. Finally, within that we can print an F string. New line is going to be account self dot name, so name of the account created. So when a new account is created, we should see print a statement here. We can also do one for the balance as well, and then and we can also set the balance here. Within our next function, we can use this to get the balance of the account. So if we want to see how much a certain account has, print that, or request it to run the function, and then balance is going to be equal to self.balance. For anyone unfamiliar, this sequence here, so this allows us to go from 2 decimal points for the monetary value. Next we need a function for deposits. Deposit, we need the self and the amount, or how much is being deposited. In the first case, we can say, just thinking about this now, if someone tries to deposit a certain amount that may not be a number, we can create an error for that. Erase type error, and this can be deposit amount must be a number. If amount is less than 0, less than or equal to 0, raise value error. There, that should sort out the errors still within the function. So next we need to do the balance, which is going to be the new balance after the amount has been deposited, and the history to say when this has been done. That's why we wanted timestamp. So self.balance. So we can say within the type of history, say what's being done. This would be a deposit. The amount, so that records it as soon as it's been done. That amount, what's the issue with amount? Oh, then following this we can print that the deposit has been completed, and then we can view the balance after, and then it's actually a viable. Alright, so we need to raise a function for viable transactions. So if self.balance is more than or equal to the amount, return, else balance exception, and within that we can actually do an F string. Self.name has insufficient balance. Sorry, account self.name has insufficient balance to perform this transaction. Yeah, full stop, double checking the punctuation. with those, let's actually try creating the accounts, doing the deposits. And so from bank account import all. Yep. So yeah, created the art project Python file. So now what we're looking to do is test the class of bank account, and test creating the account, the balance, deposit, and viable transaction. So let's get started with, we'll create 3 accounts. So say Sam, Dave, Sarah, split them out so it's easier to see. Goes bank account, we want to start with 1,000, and then Sam. So here we've defined the self, we've defined the self and the amount. We'll do the same. We can actually, all right, there we go. So we can see accounts have been created and then the balances have been added. Let's mix up the balance a bit for the next one. We'll give Sarah more, and then yeah, Sarah's 2,000 or extra 1,000 has been added. Let's see if we can also make some deposits. So we'll say Dave.deposit, we need to put in the amount. We'll say 500, and Sam.deposit 500. So both of their accounts should get an additional 500. We need to actually print the balance after that if we want to see the changes in their account. I think I actually need to save it. I'll move this up a bit. So deposit, there was an issue. Line 25, bank accounts 25, deposit. It's saying it's a part of, it's been put as part of that string, and then append history has a problem. So self.history append. Yep. Type was it, why does that have one there? Was it, what was the issue? I've only put 1, so it's meant to be a string because the commas input is part of it, where it also creates an issue saying these 2 are key value, which isn't allowed. Line 5. Oh, that's why. Is it? I feel like there's still an issue. I'm just gonna complain. Import initialization self.history, initializing them to invalid syntax. It's actually equals amount float in it. That's supposed to be integer. Raise type, deposit must be a number. Yes. If amount is less than 0, deposit must be a positive number. Is less than or equal to 0, deposit raise value error, deposit must be positive number. Self.balance equals self.balance plus amount. Self.history dot append type, that's why it's actually just that colon, then deposit, and then amount. I don't actually need it as a string. Amount timestamp, date time now. Okay, that should work. Let's save it and try it again. So yeah, there were a few issues, namely around is instance, integer, and colon. There we go. Okay, so now we can see the accounts have been created, deposit complete. So we then gave Dave an extra 500, and then that deposit was complete, and we called for Sam's balance twice, and then Dave's balance, and then Sarah's balance. In here I'll put self get balance after deposits have been done. So then me requesting the get balance here again is what create that additional line. So if we was to clear it, so it just brings the balance in after deposits have been completed. And we wanted to also check viable transaction. So if self.balance is more than amount, with this I think we'll use it when we do transfers, withdrawals, and things like that. So we'll come back to this one. Let's actually create the withdraw function for it now. So we want it to try the viable transaction first with the amount, and then self.balance will be equal to self.balance take away the amount, because that will be the new balance after it's been withdrawn. We can also append this history as well. So now we've got we actually need to change that type to withdraw, because it's not actually deposit anymore. This is how I end up making those mistakes. Amount is still amount, and the timestamp will stay the same, just to make sure that's done, so we don't end up with duplicates like we did there. Let's print another line. So with a f string, let's print withdraw complete, and then self.get balance the error. So if someone tries to, I say someone, but before I make any mistakes, let's just have the error. In case I just input something wrong, let's just interrupt it so it doesn't mess up the numbers. Oh, we need to put that there. So let's print withdraw interrupted. This should actually come after the viable transaction, and then we can input the error, and that should be okay. Let's save that. So yeah, we've got the deposits in that there. Let's first do the withdraw. And yet there's always something I've missed. Let's try to do the withdrawal first, and then we'll withdraw an insufficient amount and see what happens. So let's say Sarah 1000. We know she has that because we've given her an extra amount. And then we'll say, well, Dave dot withdraw. We'll say around 400, and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we can see the withdrawals have been complete. So their balances are there, but deposit done, so withdrawal complete. Sam, interesting. Yeah, nothing should be going out from Sam's account, so it's interesting that he has a withdrawal complete there. And Dave, the numbers are correct, Sarah's one's correct because of the get balance. So yeah, because of the get balance, we still see Sam's account. It prints, even though nothing's been withdrawn, it's going to show us. After we've withdrawn that, let's try with Sarah withdraw. We know she's only got 1000 left after this withdrawal, so we'll try and withdraw 1200, and we'll see what happens. And there we go. Complete. Yep. So the first withdrawal for Sarah was done, but then following that, Sarah has insufficient balance to perform this transaction. Why is there a line here? Has insufficient. Let's try that again. Yep, sorry account, Sarah has insufficient balance to perform this transaction. Perfect, we know it works. We'll try it with Dave as well. Dave had 1100 left. Alright, so both Sarah and Dave don't have enough for withdrawals. So we'll just comment those out and leave them on their other account balance. So following this, the next one we can create is let's create transfer. Let's create the transfer function, because we can also test our errors on that as well. So we want to try and print a new line, and then transfer in funds, and then self.viable transaction will be the amount, self.withdraw will be the amount, and then account.deposit is also the amount, or the amount is being inserted. And then we want the self.history append. The type is transfer out. We also want to make note of the recipient. Account.name. We want to make note of the account amount actually, and then the history or timestamp. Let's make a note of the account.history so we can see what transactions have been done between what accounts, in case we plan to add any more accounts to it. Let's make note of the account history, so we've got transfer history. Let's also record the account history, so we've got transfer history between the accounts in case we plan to add any more accounts. Even though it's currently between Sam, David, Sarah, we can add other accounts and we can see the history between them. So we can actually copy this. Since this one's going to be transferred out, we can do transfer in account. Since it's being transferred into the account, it's going to be self.name, since the recipient is the account receiving it, and then everything else should be the same except our exception. Balance exception as error, and then as the error we could just print, we'll use the f string transfer. We can also add another exception for when the transfer history is not available. As I said, when we create new accounts, they may not have transfer between them at the moment, so if we were to request it, instead of having nothing show up, we can just have the error. I was going to say at a later date, but I don't think it's necessary. Alright, so with those created, we can now test them. So yeah, we've tested the withdrawal. Let's test the transfer between the accounts. First, let's remind ourselves how much Sam has, 1,500. So let's say if he was to, we'll say they both give around 250 because Dave has 1,500 actually. We can probably improve that. We'll say he takes out 200 instead. We'll say deposit is 600. Deposit complete, new line. Need to check that on deposit. Alright, so we've got the transfers happening here as well. Withdrawals have been completed. We can see Dave's new balance, we can see Sarah's new balance, and then under that what we have are transferring funds, and then withdrawal complete. That's interesting. So Sam balance is now 1,200. That deposit has been completed to Sarah's account, which Sarah's balance has now been updated. And then transferring funds, withdrawn complete, so the funds were successfully withdrawn. David's new balance 1,150, and then Sarah's new balance is 1,500. Alright, now our next function will be for viewing the history of the accounts. So we need to define view history and self. We've already done deposit. let's print, just in case we do this after a transfer, let's say what we're looking for. Alright, so transaction history for the specific account, whatever the name. Transaction history for the specific account, whatever the name is. If not self.history. So if there's no history for the account, so for the transaction in the history, if the account does have transactions, let's print the information. I accidentally pressed enter on the wrong thing. Transaction. So we've got the type. Let's also print the amount. And then we'll say 2 decimal parts. Alright, next we need to print the timestamp. And then if recipient is in transaction, sorry, need to put that there. Transaction. And then recipient, sender in transaction. And we'll just print some lines to separate it. So put it outside. So yeah, 3 lines times 20. That should help separate it. Okay, so now we've done that, we can now look at the transfers between the accounts as well as view the history of the accounts themselves. So let's start with transfer. Move this up a bit. We haven't actually checked the errors. Alright, let's have a look. We'll do Sarah first actually. Sarah dot transfer, and we'll say she transfers 4,000 to Dave. Sender F string. It looks like a failed F string. Oh yeah, it was a failed F string. That was the error. Alright, so from where we left off, we can see Sarah's trying to transfer funds, and then, sorry, account Sarah has insufficient balance to perform this transaction. This sorry and space needs to change. Yeah, it's transfer interrupted. Sorry, account Sarah has insufficient balance to perform this transaction. Then Sam's account tries the transfer, completes it, sends it to Sarah. Dave's account tries it, completes it, and sends it to Sarah. Alright, so we know that worked. What we also want to do now is view the account histories. So let's view all of them. Sam.view history Sarah. Let's actually do it one at a time. Let's see how it loads up. Transaction history for account Sam, deposit, timestamp, withdraw, timestamp, transfer out, timestamp. Okay, now what if we wanted to add different type of accounts? We mentioned in the beginning there was going to be 3 classes. Well, technically it's going to actually be 4 if we're not counting the balance exception. So we can add 2 more types of accounts. Let's first start with the interest account. First we need to define deposits in this account. Will follow somewhat the same, so self amount and the balance equals self dot balance plus the amount deposited. With that, if it's an account that's going to add interest, we would also need to find the current interest rate. Since it's UK, let me find the current at the time of recording. So we'll say the self.balance is equal to the self.balance plus the amount that was deposited times the interest rate of the account. We'll probably halve that. I don't know any accounts that give that much interest in such a short period of time. And then when the deposit is done, we'll print deposit completed, and we'll also need to get the balance of this interest account. So again, so we define the deposit by the account and then the amount that's deposited. The balance will be equal to the amount deposited times by the interest rate. So let's create these. We'll do one for Sam. Interest rate account is equal to reward 1000, and we'll name it Sam's IRA. We'll do one for Dave as well. Dave IRA is equal to interest reward account Dave's IRA. Alright, so we can see Sam's IRA account is created, the balance is 1000. Dave's IRA is created and the balance is also 1000. Let's also try to deposit into these accounts. Underscore IRA dot deposit, and then we can save that and run it. IRA dot deposit, spot wrong. Okay, now we can see Dave's is 2250, Sam's is 2250. This is plus the interest rewards that we've added, and then finally we'll create the class for the savings account. It's not a capital. Self initial amount, account name, super initialize account name, self dot fee. So there's going to be a withdrawal fee. We don't actually need to make it a withdrawal fee, we can just have it as a fee for having the account, or the account takes a fee. And we'll do the withdrawal now. Self amount return super, no, not exactly. Good try though. So try. First we want the self dot viable transaction. That's going to be the amount plus self dot fee. So just to explain that, the viable transaction that the account is going to be able to withdraw is going to have to be the amount plus the fee. If it's not that, it should return an error that we are going to create a balance exception for. Self balance equals self dot balance, take away amount plus self dot fee, and then we should be able to print withdraw completed, and then accept, and then print withdraw interrupted because of this error. Because I didn't close it, it's all part of the string. There we go. And now with that, we should be able to create the savings account and then try to withdraw from them. Let's do that for Sam. SA is going to be equal to, it's not really a withdrawal first, it's the savings account. We're gonna give it the rounded figure of 1,000, and then we'll name it Sam's SA for savings account. Dave underscore SA is equal to savings account 1,000 Dave's SA. So now they both have savings accounts. See how much they have, then we can try and raise the error. We'll say around 800 for Sam, and then Dave underscore SA dot withdraw. We'll say around, we'll give him an odd number, 455. Alright, so account, that's the IRA, and then yep, so savings account created for Sam, savings account created for Dave. Then they actually withdrew, but we didn't view the balance, so let's view the balance here. Sam underscore SA dot get balance underscore SA dot get balance. Alright, so yeah, so account Sam's savings account balance is 195 and Dave's is 540. We know that's going to be the case if we withdraw this amount, so let's try to raise the error. We'll leave these amounts here, and then should be able to just do this. So we've tried to withdraw more than they have in the account when calculated for the amount plus the fee, and then we've returned the error, insufficient balance to perform this transaction. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next one.